Physalis are sometimes called Cape gooseberries or ground cherries and are eaten as a sweet fruit. And tomatillos are the traditional ingredient that's used in Mexican salsa, and they are somewhere between a fruit and a tomato. Now, although they're eaten in quite different ways, they're very much related, these two plants, and you sow them in exactly the same way. Now, these are both really easy to grow garden fruits, but when you buy them from the supermarket, they can be quite expensive, so it's well worth adding them to your garden. Now, the thing to remember with these seeds is they may pop up in around 7 days, but they can take nearly a month to germinate. Sometimes they just sit there and they do nothing for a while. It's nothing you've done wrong, so don't give up. But for that reason, rather than sowing them individually in module trays, I like to use the pricking out method, where you grow a little cluster together, and once they've germinated, you move them out into a module tray. Now, if you want a little bit more information on pricking out, we have a whole separate video that deals with that, so you know exactly what you're doing. So I like to take a pot, fill it to about 1 centimetre below the rim with compost, and give it a little tap rather than pressing it down, so you know you're not compressing the soil in that pot. And then just very sparsely sprinkle your tomatillo or physalis seeds across the surface of the compost. And you could be pretty sparing with the amount that you sow, because this is something you probably don't need a huge amount of plants from. So don't go crazy and end up with hundreds of physalis plants you've got nowhere to put later on. So once you've done that, just lightly cover with compost. These seeds really don't need to be sown deep, so you just want them covered, and then water and keep them moist. Now, for the best results, you're going to want to keep these warm. These are fairly heat-loving plants, especially early on. So put them somewhere nice and warm. And remember, if you're starting these before March, you're going to want to use some light. And again, we've got a whole nother video that talks about supplementing early sowings with grow lights, so that it's not as scary as it sounds. So once your little seedlings do finally pop up, whether that is fast or slow, you want to separate them out into different pots so that they have lots of space for growing their roots. And then once they get to about 15 centimetres high or so, they can really benefit from every couple of weeks a really diluted liquid feed. Remember, this is food, so you don't want your feed to be a chemical-based plant food. You want something natural, something like a seaweed feed, which is really easy to get hold of in garden centres. And you just want about 1/4 strength, so super weak, but they will reward you if you give them that little bit of extra feed. Now, these plants will grow pretty well outside in the garden. You don't need to find greenhouse space if you're pushed for space for these. They will do well outside, but they are very frost sensitive. So you want to be planting them out well after all risk of frost has disappeared. So if you want to give these really exciting fruits a try, check out our range of seeds on shegrowsveg.com.